name is Oisin Kim. I'm a co-founder of Webdoctor. I'm a technologist, so I'm a geek, and I helped set up a business with some friends to build a telemedicine service and a telemedicine platform. My background is in technology for financial services, telecoms, etc. But I've worked in the last 7 years on Webdoctor.ie. We basically enable GPs to see patients online. We have grown from kind of, I guess, a small kind of 4-person startup to now where we're going to go past 60 people in the next couple of weeks. We were lucky enough to be included on the 2017 Entrepreneur Experience. We learned a huge amount from it. A lot of it really was validating some of the concerns and things that we had ourselves, but a lot of it was getting excellent advice from people like Johnny Walker, people like Jeremy Matney. So we basically came to the Entrepreneur Experience as a scaling startup. So we were at that inflection point where we had got 6-figure revenues and we had a decent sized team. And the Entrepreneur Experience allowed us to take a step back and look at where our business was and look at where it needed to go to. So I think since then we've been lucky enough that we've raised some additional investment capital, and we've grown the team fairly significantly. We were asked basically to give 3 insights. So if I was to look back and see if I know today, if I knew back then what I know today, what would I have done differently? And I guess the things that we said was, one, I would have raised more money earlier, and the primary reason for doing that would be to grow our team even faster than we have. We've doubled revenue along with people, year on year, and COVID has even more than doubled our revenue. And I think part of that basically is that there was an opportunity to even grow faster if we had scaled our team earlier. I think we probably, on the hiring side, I think we would have in some roles hired slower and fired faster. This is advice that was given to us, and it's been said many times to look at the people and the fit, to look at their deliveries really early on, and to be basically to be open and honest about whether this person is a good fit or not for you. We were also asked about what pieces of advice, or what 3 pieces of advice would you give to a younger self, or to any entrepreneur that's looking today. The first one and biggest is to find mentors. I think lots of people say to find a mentor. I'm really believe that you should be finding as many mentors as you can. They don't have to be in the same domain or space that you're in. I have some mentors who are entrepreneurs in very widely different businesses. So my primary mentor is a guy, Noel McSweeney, who founded Senator Windows. So it's a glazing business, but he's just an exceptionally sharp businessman who's mentored me from the start all the way through to today. I have other mentors that have given me advice on different areas. We have other entrepreneurs that have exited their business, like Paul Lowry, like Noel Ruan, like Gary Lyons. There's a whole series of different people out there that have basically taken us and helped us grow our business. We've also used our investors, people who've invested in the business, like Cyril Maguire, who are hugely successful entrepreneurs, to help us identify things that are going to go wrong before they happen, and to tell us about what we should be doing next. So my biggest advice for anyone is to try and find as many people that can give you advice, that can help you throw rocks at your business and help you really inspect what you're doing. The second one is basically to focus on product market fit before you do anything. And I think I say this basically because I think it's the reason that I believe we've been successful, in that basically we really had a laser focus on finding the right mix of technology, medicine, and usability, etc. for our market. Like, I think the scale usually comes when you have a product that is 10 times better, 10 times more efficient, much cheaper to use. So really that focus on product market fit, until you have something that is right, the rest is outside of your control a lot of times. So things like the actual market itself, things like the adoption. When we first started Webdoctor, I genuinely believe less than 20% of people would use an online doctor. Today, I think it's inverted, and I think 20% would not use an online doctor. And that just doesn't just help us on our services business. We've 25 GPs providing services now to patients. It's also on the software side of our business, where we license our software out, in that it's now the standard, and most businesses are digital first. Alongside that product market fit, is to be really careful with taking on deals and partnerships that may not work. Johnny Walker, the entrepreneur and intervention nuclear radiologist, always told us to be careful with deals, to not undersell, and not to give something away at below cost. That it makes sense to take a step back and say, this is not something we're willing to do. That advice has been absolutely priceless. We've been really careful with the deals and the partnerships that we've done to make sure that they bring value to us, not just in terms of revenue, but in terms of IP, in terms of the network, etc. And the last piece of advice then was to choose your co-founders wisely. Typically, when you have a startup in the early years, and sometimes after the early years, you will be spending more time with your co-founders than you will with your own family. I think it is going to be normal to have weeks where you have crazy hours and crazy schedules. The last piece then, I guess we were asked is to talk about, is how COVID-19 has impacted our business, and how it has changed what we're doing. The first thing is basically for ourselves, is that we've seen a revenue multiple, literally overnight. So we've seen an increase in terms of the utilization of our direct to patient, and also our services through the likes of Leia Healthcare, etc. We provide Leia Healthcare telemedicine services. So we've seen a multiple of those literally overnight, and it became a scramble to resource, I think. And part of that was, did we have our processes and our documentation right for onboarding people in the most efficient way? The other thing that happened, actually, which is that it accelerated our business plans by about a year, in that we had a plan to launch what we called an SME version of our service. So most people will know what Shopify is. It's a website that allows you to build an e-commerce site in about 5 minutes. So we wanted to build a version of Shopify for clinicians, so that in a couple of minutes that they could get set up and be seeing patients online. So when COVID hit, we had some contact from the HSE's digital transformation team, from Ross Cullen and Professor Martin Curley. And we worked with them, and we worked with some people in the Department of Health, Niall Sinnott as an example, the head of e-health in the Department of Health, to launch that version. And we took our existing roadmap that was already being developed on. We were 9 months away from the MVP, and we basically just cut every piece of scope possible and made the simplest, fastest possible video service that we could. It had incredible adoption. So there's over 1,000 clinicians using that service. We had something like 500 signups in the first 500 clinician signups in the first 7 days, and that continues to be a great source of pride for the team in terms of that the time that it launched. And we are now back on our roadmap, and now we're basically adding all those lovely features that we plan to add to the platform some months later. And there's been some updates there as well. So for ourselves, COVID was a bit different, and I think we found that basically COVID transformed our business in ways we didn't expect. So we were already a remote team. We only had our customer services team working 9 to 5 in the office. Everybody else is completely remote, and all of our doctors are remote, all our engineers. In late February, when it looked like COVID was going to become an issue, I moved our team to remote, and I basically said everyone would be remote. And into March then, prior to the lockdown, I asked our team to stop using public transport, and they all start working from home. So we had been prepping for this unbeknownst to ourselves by having a fully remote team for the last few years. We're lucky enough that some of our co-founders live in places like Poland and Sweden, so we have basically a remote team already, and so things really worked fairly smoothly for us. And even today, even though even after the lockdown, prior to the lockdown, our teams still have been remote, and we just have someone come to the office a couple of times a week to handle posts, to post out test kits, etc. So COVID really was a kind of a step change for us, in that basically overnight there was multipliers on our demand. We ended up raising money a number of months after that, and since then we've had very meaningful kind of growth in terms of the team size. Um, uh, but we've seen the opposite side. So when we were looking to advertise for customer services executives, for example, we got 150 applicants in 18 hours. We had to turn the ad off. There was too many people. And we ended up hiring some fantastic people. We ended up saying no to some fantastic people. And it really shows you how, how the impact of COVID, at least now, is on the kind of, usually on the kind of the lower paid entry level roles. I think COVID will start to have other impacts now, in other roles, in other areas, in the coming months and years.